Gadgets are a very important part of the game. They shape the meta and are an important part in defining how good a brawler is. Last time I revisited some of the worst gadgets of all time. Now it's time to revisit some of the best of all time. This is a longer video than usual because I decided to put more gadgets on the list, so there will be fewer good gadgets left out. If you enjoy this video, be sure to drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's just get right into this. To start, this video will feature a duo of gadgets. They have almost identical mechanics and are Emz's friend zoner and Gene's lamp blowout gadget at release. When they were introduced into the game, both pushed the enemy farther away than they do now. Both of them received a very interesting nerf to balance them, and are not the only ones that received it. Brawl Stars' team decided to reduce their 3 gadget uses per match to 2 per match. In my opinion, it helped to tone them down, but they were still annoying to play against. This change was later reverted, but their pushback radius was lowered. Now they are still very good, but not as good as they used to be. Next, we will talk about Nita's first gadget, Bear Paws, at release. Upon activation, Nita's bear will immediately stomp the ground, stunning any enemy in its range. This was very overpowered and annoying to play against, and because it was so strong, the Brawl Stars team decided to give it the same treatment as Emz's and Gene's gadget, limiting it to only 2 uses per match instead of 3. However, this change was later reverted, but on the activation of the gadget, the bear will wait a few seconds before stomping the ground and stunning the enemy in its range. The gadget is now only effective in lower trophies and very ineffective in higher trophies, as most people can easily avoid it. Perhaps you can get lucky sometimes and catch someone off guard, but it will not happen frequently. Next, I will talk about Bo's second gadget, Tripwire, upon release. Bo triggers all of his mines immediately. This was so broken, annoying to play against, but as usual, if you play with something broken, you will always have a good time demolishing your enemies. People, including me, had to suffer because of this gadget for 3 months. The gadget got a delay of 1.5 seconds before the mines are going to explode and remain like in the present. This change made the gadget more balanced, and that's a good thing. We don't need a strong tripwire gadget in this meta. Next, I will talk about Crow's first gadget, Defense Booster, at release. Crow gets a shield for 60% of incoming damage for 3.0 seconds. This gadget gave Crow insane survivability, making him very tough to eliminate, not a good time for the enemy. It received the same treatment as the other gadgets mentioned before, going from 3 uses per match to 2 per match, but like the others, it got reverted and the shield was changed to 40% of incoming damage. The gadget is still good now, allowing Crow to have 2 different builds around his gadgets, giving him good versatility. We can't escape Crow because I'm going to talk about his second gadget, Slowing Toxin Pre-Nerf. All currently poisoned enemies are slowed for 5 seconds. Comparing to the other gadgets, it didn't start broken, it was decent. At release, the gadget slowed the poisoned enemies for 2.5 seconds. After that, they buffed it to 3.5 seconds slow for the poisoned enemies to help it compete with his other gadget, which was very good at that time, even though it had only 2 uses per match. It got another buff from 3.5 to 5 seconds slow for the poisoned enemies, and because his other gadget was changed, it allowed this gadget to dominate for the next 8 months. And I am not joking, look in the wiki. It got nerfed to 3 seconds slow for the poisoned enemies, and then to the current duration of 2 seconds. It is not as good as it used to be, but still a decent gadget. As I mentioned before, both gadgets can be played in different builds that have different playstyles, making Crow have more versatility. Probably everyone expected this gadget to be on the list, and it is Lily's first gadget, Vanish. Lily enters the Shadow Realm for 3 seconds. I think everyone knows why this is good. Helps Lily easily get close to enemies or escape faster. You also have some interesting interactions. For example, if Lily has Cordelius as her teammate, Cordelius can take someone in the Shadow Realm with his super, and Lily with her gadget can join them, because there is only one Shadow Realm, making the fight a 2v1. Or it can be Lily's teammate was taken to the Shadow Realm by an enemy Cordelius, and Lily joins them to help her teammate, transforming this from 1v1 to 2v1. These are more situational moments, but the first two things I mentioned make this gadget so unfair compared to the other gadgets in the game. And they agree with this in the recent Time to Explain podcast. They said they will change these unfair gadgets, mentioning lilies was planned for this update, but they didn't have time to finish it and probably will come in the next update. I'm excited to see how they will change it. Next, let's talk about Dynamike's second gadget, Satchel Charge. Once activated, the next main attack also stuns enemies for 1.5 seconds. Comparing to the other stun gadgets, this is not as guaranteed, but still if you hit, you can get a free easy elimination. Nothing more to say, any stun gadgets are going to be good in the game. Next, let's talk about Shelly's second gadget, Clay Pigeons. Upon activation, for the next 5 seconds, Shelly's main attacks focus on a smaller area with increased range. Shelly struggles against long-range brawlers, and this gadget helps even the odds, fixing Shelly's vulnerability in the process. It is the superior gadget for Shelly, and there is no argument needed why is better than the other gadget. Next, let's talk about Draco's second last stand. Draco cannot fall under 1 health for 2 seconds. If played at the right moment, you can get so much value out of this gadget. Additionally, it gives you much better survival chances. Good survivability and the superior choice for Draco, but to be a good gadget, you need to use it at the correct time, or it will just be wasted. Next, let's talk about Tick's second gadget, Last Hurrah. Tick gains a 50% shield for 1.0 seconds. After that, it bursts out for 12 and 80 damage. This should have been his first old gadget from the start, not the dash with a mine behind. Tick can be easily eliminated by assassins, and this gadget is the perfect counter. You get a 50% shield plus knockback. What more do you need? Overall, it is very good, and nobody will probably disagree with me. Next, I'm going to talk about another duo of gadgets, Sandy's Sweet Dreams and Cordelius's Poison Mushroom. Both gadgets do the same thing. Upon activation, their next attack will stun the enemy. The only difference is Sandy's gadget can stun multiple enemies, making it much better than Cordelius's. However, both of them are very good, and as I mentioned before, stun gadgets will always be effective in this game. If you compare it with their other gadgets, in Sandy's case, it is not a competition. The healing is nice, but is too slow. You can easily be eliminated, and the gadget will be wasted. But in Cordelius's case, it is much different because his other gadget is good. It lets him jump over obstacles, which can take some enemies by surprise. Next, let's talk about Stu's second gadget breakthrough at release. Stu's next super will break obstacles in its way. Also, he gets his super instantly charged if it didn't have it before. Breaking obstacles like the walls in Brawl Ball is very helpful. But if you think getting his super is not a big deal because you only need to hit 1 time an enemy to charge it, but you are wrong. This can easily take anyone behind a wall by surprise. It can also be very helpful to get his super when he needs it, and there are no enemies in sight to shoot. Overall, in this state, the gadget was super good. Sadly, it is not as good now because Stu doesn't get his super anymore. Next, let's talk about Maisy's first gadget, Disengage. Maisy blasts the ground, stunning enemies for 0.5 seconds while dashing forward. As I mentioned before, any stun is very good, and you can also easily escape tight situations because of the dash. I didn't include it with the other two because it is much different, mostly because of the dash. Next, let's talk about Sam's first gadget, Magnetic Field. While the Knuckle Busters are on the ground, Sam can activate them to pull in nearby enemies. It stops players from running away and makes them easier targets for Sam. Comparing to his other gadget, which helps the enemy more than you, there is no competition. This is a newer gadget, and it is Kenji's second gadget, Hosomaki Healing. Kenji instantly heals 75% of the damage taken over the last 3 seconds. This was so good for his survivability, and that does not include his healing from hitting enemies. The gadget just got nerfed to heal 50% of the damage taken over the last 3 seconds, but it is still a very good gadget for him, even though it is not as effective as it used to be. Next, let's talk about Kit's first gadget, Cardboard Box at release. Hide in a cardboard box, becoming invisible for 5 seconds. Charges the super 100% faster while stationary. This is pretty much Leon's super with limited uses, not much to say about it. It helps Kit to get closer to the enemy much easier. You also get that supercharge, and because during that time it was longer, you got way more value out of it. Overall, it is still very good to use, especially in solo showdown, but in 3v3 matches, it is better to use his second gadget, Cheeseburger. We can't escape because I'm going to talk about his second gadget, Cheeseburger pre-nerf. It heals himself and the friendly brawler he is attached to for 40%. What I know is this gadget could out-heal the damage the enemy did to Kit's teammate. In the recent update, it got nerfed to 30% healing, which is still good. So yeah, guys, that is my revisitation of some of Brawl Stars' best gadgets of all time. Let me know in the comments section if there are any that I missed that you felt should have been on this list. Be sure to comment them down below. I love reading your guys' comments. And be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.